This is a conspiracy. That's what this is.
Just begging to course its way through your veins.
Let's just for a moment speculate, shall we?
You're into comic books, aren't you?
I'm a nerd.
But you do like comic books.
Comic books aren't just for sad nerds anymore.
Objection, calls for speculation, move to strike.
This is a bad idea. This is a bad idea.
You think we need one more? You think we need one more? All right, we'll get one more.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Spec Tales, a comic book podcast. I'm Jake, he's Jesus, and this is episode 9. Jesus, how's it going?
It's going very well, man. I'm very excited about today's show.
Yeah, man, 9 episodes deep. Did you think we were going to make it?
Nah, man, I thought we were just going to do one, and then we were just going to be like, we'll record next week, and then next week never comes, and then, but, you know, we're here. So
You thought we were going to flake? You thought we were flakers?
I wouldn't say flakers. I would say more like scheduling conflict somehow. You know, I think that's what was gonna kill us.
Well, yeah. There's 7 kids between us. I mean, of course, I'm surprised that we made this work. Honestly,
that is true, man. I think the more kids you have, the more levels of difficulty to get anything accomplished.
Yeah, but they gotta go. They gotta go to bed at some point. So it just takes a little bit of energy drink to keep us up.
Exactly.
But I am excited about this episode too. We've got a lot going on for you guys out there. Thank you very much for listening in. A little bit of house cleaning. We really want to thank everybody for listening. The last few episodes have been going really well. Lots of people downloading and listening. So thank you very much. And we've been getting a lot of great positive feedback, people reaching out, people tossing out reviews, just people saying kind words to us. So thank you very much from the bottom of our hearts. We really mean it. What we started here was we just wanted to BS to each other. We were on the phone talking all the time. And so we were like, you know what? We should actually record this. So that's really where this came from. And that's what we keep doing. So thanks for listening in. As far as what we've got scheduled for this show, the regular, if you're a regular listener, the normal stuff. We're going to talk about what we recently purchased. We're going to toss out a Grail tale. Today, we've got a tale from the internet, which is actually submitted by one of our listeners. So that's going to be fun to get to. And then we always toss out a spec book at the end of the episode. But in addition to those things, we actually want to address a pretty big elephant in the room. So what that is, I guess we'll jump into that here in a minute. Before any of that comes in, we're going to talk what we recently purchased. Jesus, you know what we always do. You're up first.
So what I recently purchased, I am going to go ahead and like in football, it's opening. We're recording opening day, so I'm deferring right now until later on because this will also be my spec for this week. So I'm gonna go ahead and defer to you on recently purchased right now.
So you're not gonna tell us what you recently purchased right now?
Not right now. Not until we talk about our spec at the end of the episode.
Okay, all right, that's fine with me. I've got plenty to talk about, as I always do. So it should not come as a surprise to anybody who's listened to the previous podcast. If you are a first-time listener, I am a big supporter of Hercules. I think that is who I've been speccing on. People should already know that. So if you're looking for his first appearance in Marvel Comics, you need to go back to Journey into Mystery Annual number 1. We can't go an episode without without mentioning that book. But now I'm starting to dive into some of the minor keys, right? You can go with his Hercules' first self-titled book, which I believe is 1982, 81, somewhere in that ballpark. It's got a wicked sweet cover that is totally 80s. That I highly recommend. You can go find that book for like $1. But this isn't the spec segment. This is a segment about recently purchased. So I purchased Avengers 45. So this is a Silver Age book. It's a 12-cent book. This is the Hercules joins the Avengers, or I should say, this is what I thought was when Hercules joins the Avengers. Now, this is kind of going to turn into a little bit of a PSA informational, best practices sort of moment in the podcast where I'm going to let everybody know. So I bought this book. Like a lot of people, I'm an avid user of Key Collector. I love Key Collector. I love the app. Somebody put a ton of work into this thing to make it one of the most quintessential collector tools out there. I can't say enough positive things about Key Collector. So I'm saying that up front because I don't consider what I found an error. I think that it is just a nuance. I don't know what we want to call it, Jesus, but so I bought Avengers 45. I was at my LCS. I found the book and I confirmed, or I looked up on Key Collector, the Avengers 45 is listed as when he actually becomes an Avenger. Now, after I got the book home, I did what I normally do, and that is I read through the book. This is something that I'm always super careful, and I make sure I've washed my hands if it's an old book and stuff. I take precautions. So I opened this particular copy up, and I'm trying to find. I want to read the part where Hercules officially become. When does Robert Downey Jr. Put his hands over his shoulders and say,
when does he bend the knee? When does he bend the knee and
Yeah, exactly. And there is a gorgeous splash page, right? So I'm flipping through the whole thing, and on the splash page, which is, it's got Thor, it's got Hercules, it's got Iron Man. It's awesome. But in the bottom right corner, it says, if you're amazed to see Iron Man, Thor, and Hercules together in the above splash panel, either you missed Avengers Special #1 or you're fantastically forgetful. But what that led me to look into is Avengers Special #1, which is actually known as Avengers Annual #1. So first Avengers Annual. And if you go back, the first Avengers Annual is technically, now it is not in sequential order of the Avengers series. It is separate, but it is technically the first. It is when Hercules becomes an official Avenger in that book, at least from what my research has dug up. Now, I'm saying all of this because I want to tell everybody, there's a lot of great information in tools like Key Collector, in tools like Go Collect, in tools, there's a number of great ones out there. I'm just naming a couple that I use personally. However, nothing can beat you doing your own research on the spec. Now, I'm not upset whatsoever about Avengers 45. This is in continuity the first Avengers book with Hercules as an Avenger. Now, he makes plenty of appearances prior to this book in Avengers, but this is not his first appearance in Avengers books. This is his first appearance as an official Avenger. And I would compare this to Giant Size X-Men 1 and X-Men 94. So X-Men 94 is a very valuable book. It's a very important key because it is the first in sequence X-Men book that has Storm, Colossus, Wolverine, Nightcrawler, you name it, all the second team, the new team. Mm-hmm. And so I would compare this situation to that. Avengers Annual #1 has a lot of new team members in it. And it specifically is where the new team and the old team come together to fight 6 villains. It's a great cover, by the way. Yeah. That's another book. I guess it's an unofficial speculation. I actually need to get a copy myself, so hopefully I get it before this recording goes live. But so what I'm saying is use all the tools that you have available, but do not forget to get your hands dirty as well. Because this was a scenario where I got my hands dirty and I found out that there was more. So it's not just one minor key, which is Avengers 45, which I still consider a minor key for Hercules. But there's a second minor key, which is Avengers Annual #1. And to me, it's kind of cool because, as an avid collector, I just got another book I got to go get now. So,
yeah, I mean, I think that's a great PSA, like you mentioned. Everything's not perfect, and it's fallible. So it's just a reminder that some of the tools that we use, and again, Key Collector is I mean, I use it. I might not use it how everybody else uses it, or we all have a different way of using it. But it's also fairly new. I don't think it's that old. I think it's maybe 3 years old, 4 years old, something like that. So it's still rather new, and it still has some growing pains. I mean, there's a lot of books out there. There's a lot of specs, keys, minor keys. So I definitely anticipate that this isn't the first time it's happened, and it's not going to be the last time it happened. But like you just said, collectors just have to do their due diligence, do a little bit of hard work or a little bit extra work just to make sure that the book that they get is the book that they wanted to get.
That's all I wanted to say. I think that it was something that once I found it, it wasn't upsetting in any way. I was more like, oh shoot, I just got to buy this other book, or I now I'm chasing another one, which is actually even more fun. So yeah, gotta love the chase.
Fun. It's super fun, and at the same time, I mean, you didn't mention it, but that cover is sweet too. It's a green cover.
Oh,
the 45
Avengers 45 is a. I love the cover. It's green. It's got great colors. You've got Captain America, Hercules, Scarlet Witch, Hawkeye. I'm trying to think there. Quicksilver somewhere on there, but yeah, it's great cover. There's a lot of cool stuff about it. So
yeah, and sometimes covers are really, really collectible on their own just by what they are. Just the cover itself. But that's a green color too, and I like. I don't know, the primary colors on some of these early books to me are really cool, like green covers, yellow covers, red covers. They just pop to me.
Technically, the primary colors, just so that we don't have a listener correct you, the primary colors are red, yellow, and blue. But if you mix yellow and blue together, you get green. So you were pretty close.
Man, it's a primary color to me because my flag is green, white, and red. So that's a primary color to me.
I'm not judging the color of your flag. I'm just, you said primary colors. I went to sophomore year art class. I remember primary colors. Okay. So now we've got to discuss the elephant in the room. I teased it earlier. We're going to jump into this new topic. Something that I've noticed, something that has been called out, something that maybe people listening have wondered if you've listened to the previous episodes. We very, very rarely spec on DC in this podcast.
We just hate DC. No,
speak for yourself. I don't hate DC, but we don't do it. And I thought that we should really address this. Why don't we spec on DC very much? I mean, do we, I'll let you weigh in. Do we hate DC on this podcast?
We don't hate DC, man. I think we've both talked about it. The series, that got me back into reading and collecting was DC's The Blackest Night, which I just thought was really cool and really well done. I like their stories. I've liked their stories a lot. One of my favorite shows growing up was Batman the Animated Series. I just think it's a classic. I used to watch it every day after school. And one of my favorite villains all time, well, I guess two of them are Clayface and Ra's al Ghul. I just think they're just super unique characters, super cool characters. So no, we don't hate DC. I know you like DC. I know you like what was it, Batman New 52, I think.
Yeah, Batman New 52 is one of those series. We've talked about them. They brought me back from the dead, right? I wasn't reading, I wasn't collecting. And then that series, I kind of stumbled into an LCS and New 52 had just kind of kicked up. And I read it and I just couldn't put it down. And I finished that. I own the entire run.
Yeah. So no, man, we don't hate DC. I don't hate DC at all. I just think that as far as, speccing goes, it's kind of barren out there, man, because there's like a middle ground. And by middle ground, I mean, like, if you look at DC and their characters, they have some of the most iconic characters, but they're also all from the golden age, right? So you have super grails, as we like to call them, right? And then you
Mhm.
have, basically newer spec books that are tough to even, I guess invest in, if you want to call them, or spec on, or whatever. And there's really nothing in the middle, man. There's nothing like in the, late Silver Age to Bronze Age that would be considered a spec. And so we had this conversation and we talked a little bit about it. And one of the reasons we had thought about was the cinematic universes, right? I think that's
Yep.
that's one of the main reasons why we feel that way about it. It's I mean, right, that was one of them.
Yeah, exactly.
And then the other one was that they have the super grail, and like, I can't afford a Batman #1. You know what I mean? Like not, and I mean, it's not that I can't afford it, is that it's just so expensive. Like, you're not gonna find deals on it. You can't find it out there. It's hard to come by. Detective Comics 27, Action Comics #1. Those books are out of reach for
They're untouchable.
yeah,
They're
for
untouchable.
normal collectors. You know what I mean? And so then what do you start looking at for DC? You start looking at their villains, and they have, I mean, pound for pound, they probably have some of the best villains, better than Marvel, right? Like, you have the Riddler,
if
you have Penguin, you have Poison Ivy.
Batman alone. I mean, Batman alone has some of the best villains in comic book lore, right? Like, they've got, he's got it. And then you can start looking at even some of the other characters. Obviously, Superman has some really notorious great villains. You just go down the list. They all have really well written foils. Yeah, all the heroes do. Deathstroke is a great villain in comic books, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of that character on screen. But, and not to cut you off, but you're right. The universe, the cinematic universes that they have, for me, it is so hard to speculate on a cinematic universe that is as sporadic as, I don't know which movies are connecting to which characters are continuing on in the DC universe, which ones are ending, and everywhere in between, right? What movies are connecting? Is the new Batman movie connected to the Justice League movie that we just saw? Probably not, because Zack Snyder's not involved. Or Suicide Squad. Or what about the new Aquaman? They just showed, Jason Momoa just released some photos of him in his new Aquaman suit, which looks sweet. But where does that movie fall in line with the other DC movies? I hear that they're developing a new Superman movie. Is that one? So I have no idea. And when they're all one-offs, I guess it's hard to know where the spike is. Because I guess the thing about speculation, what makes the MCU so easier to speculate on is, when a character is brought into the MCU, right? There is the initial announcement, like, oh, this character's been cast, or this character is going to appear in this movie. And there is a spike. The book rises a little bit, becomes a little bit more valuable. And then you get the trailer, or you get the release of the show or something like that. And the character spikes, the book spike, everything to do with that book, both the major keys and the minor keys around that character, all go up. And so everybody can spec on the book, sell the book, make a little bit of money, or maybe you just are a big fan of that character and that's why you want to grab the books. Whatever reason it is, you can follow the wave on the MCU. DC doesn't, it's choppy. There's no wave to ride.
Yeah, and like, the other thing about that too is this is the market that we're in. Like, when Batman 89 came out with Michael Keaton, it wasn't like this as far as, the speculation game and stuff like that. And on top of that too, if a movie comes out and you like those characters, and you're more than likely going to go out and try to buy that comic book, so that it just creates a natural thing. Like, hey, I like this movie. Where's the first appearance of Thanos? Then go get it. Stuff like that. If we looked at DC books through the same lens that we look at Marvel books, there'd be more to collect, because I was telling you, like, Black Manta is a good character, right? And he came out in Aquaman, and he was done decent. Like if you're a Black Manta fan, you think they did him justice in the movie, right? Because he was powerful, he was strong, different, cool, all that stuff, right?
And I love the actor that's portraying the character.
Yeah. The first appearance of him is, I mean, a pretty decently expensive book. I think in great condition, it's over $1,000, right? So I was like, okay, well, I don't care about Black Manta that much. I'm not going to buy that book. And as I'm looking through it, I see his second appearance. And his second appearance is a really, really cool cover for a book. And I was like, man, why didn't I know about this book? Why didn't I know about this cover? And it's because it's DC and because I just turned a blind eye. His second appearance is Aquaman number 42. It's from 1968, a Silver Age book. It's a classic cover by Nick Cardy, and it's the second appearance of Black Manta.
Nice.
That book is very affordable, and it's a really cool cover. So
it's a great cover.
I compare it to, I don't know, what's a really cool cover right now that's hot, that's just because it's the cover, that it's not like anything.
X-Men 50? I mean, it's the first new title.
It's the second appearance of Polaris, second appearance of Mesmero, Origin of Beast, first use of the classic X-Men logo.
It's the first use of the X-Men logo but it is second appearances, which is comparable to your second appearance of
Manta. Yeah. And that book has skyrocketed to, I mean, over $800, also from 1968. That's a very comparable book, man. I mean, it doesn't have all that, but it's the second appearance of a major villain that's already been in theaters.
But this book is getting a ton of play on Instagram, and you name it, it's getting posted everywhere.
Exactly. So why isn't that book? And I feel like it's, again, because of the things we just outlined. The DC, like, are we going to see Black Manta again? Do people know about this book? Is it a huge character? You know what I mean? Like, there's just so many things that are depressing the value of DC keys. And I, for one, have told myself I'm going to look for more books like this, because I, as a collector, I think it's an awesome cover. I would love to have that in a collection. And the high grades aren't that expensive either. I mean, that's like, I don't know, $50 book right now. In high grade and graded, you could probably get it for $200-$300, and it's a really cool book to have. So that's kind of the elephant in the room as far as why we don't talk about DC a lot here in this podcast. That doesn't mean that we hate them. And at least for me, maybe going forward, maybe foreshadowing, there might be some spec talk going forward about that. I don't know. You just have to tune in.
Cool. All right. So now let's move on. We have got our very first Tales from the Internet, specifically one submitted by a listener. So, Jesus, you've got all the information on this one, so I'm going to let you take the mic.
All right, man. So today's tale from the internet is what I like to call a first appearance. It's, like you mentioned, it's our first listener submitted Grail tale, and it comes from our I guess friend of the show, Alex G. I'll be giving out his info, all his info at the end of the tale, but his name is Alex G. And this is all the way up north from the great state of Connecticut. So Alex reached out to us to tell us how he was able to snag his Grail. His Grail, I'm gonna say it in it, but this story takes place around 15 years ago. So Alex goes into his local comic shop, and his local comic shop has two owners at the time, and one of them will call the hard ass, and one will call the fair one.
Okay.
So Alex walks into his LCS this day, and he sees up on the wall an Incredible Hulk 181. As we know, we've talked about this. We've had conversations about this 181. We have a whole episode about it, about trading into one. So it is a Grail. 15 years ago, it's still a Grail. It's always been a Grail. So he walks in, and this is the first time that Alex sees a 181 in person. And just like all collectors, when you have one in hand and you get that glory moment, that newbie, moment, he had to have it. He had to have it. So he asks how much, and the hard ass is there. and he tells him that it's $500. And at that time, that was a little steep for that book. I think it was overpriced at the time, from what Alex says. So,
what was
Alex
the grade? Was there an estimated grade on it?
There wasn't an estimated grade, but it was very, very clean, very, very high grade.
Okay.
I would say high grade. So Alex said, no, that's a little too much, and he walks away and he leaves. But that's not it, man. That's not the end of it. It's not a fail grail or grail fail, as they call them. So he slept on it, and the next day he wakes up and he's determined. He says, "You know what, man? I gotta have that book." Just like us, man. Just like anybody would say.
Yep. Oh yeah.
You sleep on it. You're like, man, I could have been sleeping with that book right here next to me. Nobody does that. That's just me.
That's just you.
Okay, well, maybe nobody else sleeps with their books next to them. All right, so he's determined to buy it, and he says, "You know what? Let me go back in and let me do it." So, he calls in and he calls the shop. He's frantic at this point because he thinks it's already sold. So he calls and he talks to the fair one at this point. And he said, the fair one answers, and he's like, "Hey, is that book still there?" He goes, "Yep, it's still here." He asked him to pull it and that he'd be there within a half hour. And before he hangs up, he says, "Hey, so it's still 500, right?" And the guy goes, "Nope." And he was like, "Well, damn, they already done jacked up the price in one day." That's how crazy the market was back then.
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
And he says, "No." He goes, 300 is fair for this book.
Oh shit!
So
nice.
He says 300 is fair. Yeah. So he goes.
Oh,
somehow,
geez, get there fast.
Exactly. So Alex says, somehow he doesn't get pulled over on the way. He managed not to get pulled over on the way, and he wanted to get there before the hard ass owner got back. So he gets there. he gets the book in his hands. He takes it out and he checks for the stamp, the Mar value stamp. As we all know, if it doesn't have the Mar value stamp, that affects the grade.
Yep.
Because it's not complete. So he checks it. It's there. And so then he's looking at it. The colors pop on it. But he does see some whiteout. He sees some whiteout on the front and a little bit on the back. And it's covering up a date stamp that somebody put in pencil. But the book is gorgeous. Like I mentioned, the colors pop. So he hands over the cash. So he's super excited about it. He had been collecting it for years. That was his Grail book. And then later on, he ended up getting it graded because this was a raw book. Okay. And he went to that same place because the hard ass guy was a CGC rep. So he sends it in. And I think it was a few years later, and it comes back. Right. And when it comes back high grade, like I had mentioned, right? So what would a high grade 181 for $300? What do you think it would come back at? I mean, it's not a super high, it's not 9.0, but a high grade, decent grade, what would you say?
I mean, I have no idea. I mean, 7, right? Like
it comes back at an 8.0.
Oh, damn. Okay. Nice.
But it comes back purple.
Oh.
We talked about it a little bit. It was the whiteout on the book that comes back purple.
Yeah, I should have known that was coming.
Yeah, so you've had some experience with that now, Jake, huh?
Not with the whiteout, but oh man.
Yeah, so I asked Alex to give me some more info on it. What did the guy say? And he goes, "Oh, they dinged you for the whiteout. It came back purple." So I mean, overall, I mean, I think it's a pretty great story. It sucks that it came back purple, but it's still high grade.
So what's Alex doing with it? What is that the end of the story, or that's where we're at now?
That's where we're at now. We're at now because Alex is kind of debating whether he wants to try and get this whiteout gone off the book, and I mean, I know some people in the community that can do it. But even like we were talking, and even like he mentioned, if it comes back at a 6.0 blue label, it's still going to be worth more than the 8.0 purple label, right?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it just depends. Is he trying to sell it?
Oh no, he's not trying to sell it. I don't think he would sell it. It's his Grail. He had been looking at it for a lot. That's the first time he had it in his hands, and that's the first time he's seen it in person. So he's had it for 15 years. He's not trying to sell it.
So he's just the purple label is just, wearing on him. Is that what we're kind of now talking about?
Yeah, because he didn't know, he didn't know about it at the time, and he didn't think he was gonna come back with that. So, and again, this was what 15 years ago. Then 12 years ago. It's I guess growing pains in the collecting game.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested if it's simply just about the label, then it makes me wonder whether it's worth it or not. However, from a value standpoint, and I'm interested, did he press and clean it?
Oh, he didn't mention if he did, man. I don't think he did.
I didn't hear you say it. Now, 15 years ago, if that's when he got it graded, that wasn't exactly standard, right? Now it seems like if you don't press and clean your book before you send it in, you made a grave mistake, right? But in this particular case, if he didn't and he got an 8.0, there might be some wiggle room. There might be room to go up. So if he gets that whiteout removed, cleans the book, maybe he can, sustain somewhere in that 7 to 8 range. I guess I've never taken off whiteout. I don't know what it all entails, and I don't know if that's going to negatively impact the book. My assumption is that it will cause a downgrade in the book. However, if there's room to press and clean this thing up just a little bit, suddenly you might sustain the grade. So if that's the case, you get that long term, and then maybe down the road, of course, it doesn't sound like he has any intentions to sell the book. However, if he wants to sell the book in another 10 to 15 years, that blue label is going to be worth more than the purple label 10 to 15 years from now.
I'm just looking at it right now, man, and I'm gonna see if we can put it up on our Instagram. This thing is clean. This thing looks like a 9.
It's got some potential.
This thing got potential, man, and I don't think he'll sell. Like I mentioned, I don't think he would sell it.
No, but he may sell it in the future, right? Like, that I know it's a joke term, but it's a retirement book sort of, right? Like, that if he can get it to keep an 8.0 or 7.5 or wherever it might land after you remove that whiteout, that's a valuable book. That's and 10 to 15 years from now, I think it's only going to go up. It's not going down. It certainly doesn't seem like it.
So I think it'd be a win if he were able to remove the whiteout on both the front and the back, press and clean it, and then still stay with at least maybe a 7.5, 8.0. But if he gets anything above that, then that's icing on the cake, man.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's it. That's pretty cool. And it's a good hypothetical in terms of, I don't know what it all entails taking whiteout off. However, if he does it, I'd love to have a continuation of this story. So
yeah, I've seen them take it off. I think it helps him that it's on white. If it was on ink, I think it'd be more prominent, because I think the way they take it off, it takes a small layer of the ink underneath it off. And then now, this is just so silly, man. Like, it had pencil underneath it, man. Pencil is easy to take off when you press and clean.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, hopefully we get a continuation of this story. Alex, if you're listening, thank you very much for sharing. Mm-hmm. It's a great story. If you do continue with the story, you get it, pressed, cleaned, you get that whiteout taken off. Come back, tell us what happened. I'd love to continue the story. I think that'd be great. Let us know. So thanks for sharing.
Yeah, thanks for sharing. And I just want to say, it's Alex G on Instagram, and his Instagram handle is AJG916. So you guys want to go out and follow him and check out his books. He posts them on there. He posts some cool art on there as well. So thank you, Alex. We appreciate it.
Nice. All right, cool. Well, that was fun. Our first official submission. So, hey, if you're out there listening and you've got your own Grail tale and you want to talk to us about it, we'd love to share it. We'd love to tell people about what happened, whether you got the book or whether it was a fail tale, right? That's something.
Grail fail.
Yeah, Grail fail. Let us know. I mean, either way, we're interested. We want to tell. We're here to tell collecting stories. So you can reach out to us either on Instagram, where you can find us at spec_tales_podcast, or you can reach out to us at spectalespodcast@gmail.com. All of those will get to us. So give us a shout, and we'll respond, and we'll have a chat. So that said, now we're getting to what I have now deemed the most anticipated part of this entire podcast. Jesus, what is your spec? What did you buy? I've got to know.
All right, man. So this is going to come at you in like, I don't know, 3 dimensions, maybe 4. It's like 5D chess. It's that chess that they play on the Star Wars. This is what it is right here, man. This is so far. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. But let me just let you in. So this episode is gonna drop on 9/15. 9/15, which is September 15th, is the beginning of what? You need to know this, Jake. You have to know this. If you don't know this, I don't know what. I don't know what.
Is it like a lunar? Is it a moon cycle of some kind?
How dare you? It is Hispanic Heritage Month. The beginning of Hispanic Heritage Month. Everyone knows this. This is known.
It is known. This is the way.
So I'm dropping a Hispanic spec and I'm dropping a DC spec. All at the same time. All at the same time.
Wait, we don't do DC spec. We don't do DC spec on this podcast.
No, but I'm gonna write the ship right now.
That's
what I'm gonna do. That's what I'm doing it by myself. Dollar bin book.
Hey Zeus, take the wheel.
This is a dollar bin book, a dollar bin series. It's Kronos number 1 through number 12. The first appearance of the second or third Kronos. He is half Mexican and half Chinese, and this series, from what I gather, and I bought the whole series because I want to read it. From what I gather, is a really cool series, and it's about time travel. And Kronos is a villain, but he's also a hero, or he's a hero, but he's also a villain, depending when he's at and where he's at in time. So we've talked about the multiverse in DC being done first with the Flash. Well, now Marvel's doing time travel, and it just makes sense for DC to do some time travel. So Kronos number 1, first appearance of, I think his name is Walker Gabriel. I don't remember what his name is. Pretty cool book, pretty cool series. First appearance in Kronos number 1 from, I think it's 1998. And I think it's really a cool series to adapt and a cool character for Hispanic Heritage Month. So there you go. Spec on some Hispanic Heritage Month DC books.
Go out and get it. Actually, it sounds good. Let me know when you read it, because actually it does sound interesting, and I'm always in for DC. Always has interesting stuff. Every time I read something that is DC, I usually enjoy it. They usually get very good writers. I was huge into the New 52. I think I've said that before. Not just Batman, but I got into Swamp Thing, the Justice League, Flash, Aquaman. The first 10 or 12 issues of Aquaman of New 52 were fantastic. The Manta stuff was the story of Manta in the New 52 was extremely enjoyable. That first run was great. And that kind of leads into actually what I'm specking on. I'm specking DC as well.
I righted the ship. I knew it.
You know what? I wasn't going to spec on DC, but then you said you were, so I said I had to. No. I had planned for this. The elephant is officially out of the room, right? Like it's, but the next 5 episodes we're only talking Marvel. Okay, so here's a book I own a copy of, and this spec, let's go ahead and say that it's more wishful thinking than it is anything else. I really want this to happen because if I could say my favorite new character or characters or new additions to comic book lore in the last 2 decades. And I'm talking, I'm saying even if you include Ice Cream Man and Something Is Killing the Children and all of my favorite reads from the last American Vampire, all of those, even including all my favorite reads, the Court of Owls are by far my absolute favorite thing anybody has written in the last 2 decades. For hands down. This is Batman number 6 from Batman Volume 2 or the New 52. And it's got a just wicked, filthy cover by Capullo. So it's got Batman, but he's kind of like half owl turning towards the reader, looking back, and it's just terrifyingly awesome. So it's got the cover, it's got everything you need to be a fantastic spec book, right? And then it is the first appearance of the Court of Owls. Now, it is the first full team appearance of the Court of Owls, I should say. So that's Batman number 6. I own the full run of New 52, Batman New 52. However, that book I have in extremely high grade. It might be a 9.8. I never got it graded because when I bought it, I wasn't buying for grading. I was buying for collecting. Mm-hmm. And so I got as many of the first 12 books. I have multiple copies or a few because I wanted Near Mint Plus in all the first 1 through 11, the Court of Owls run.
Did you get any variants?
I'd have to go back. I know I have a few variants. Like I have I think 3 of number 4.
Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool.
Anyway, so I'm specking on Court of Owls because I just pray that they take those characters, which in my opinion, not just, like I already said, best in the last couple of decades of new additions to comic books. But in terms of Batman, it's literally like the perfect foil for Batman. I know you got Joker, I know you got Riddler, and there's a lot of other really great characters. But to take a character like Batman who already has so many good villains and to come up with a new villains in this case, a team of villains that rival just as epically awesome as the Joker. And I don't know if they're as good as the Joker. Nobody is. However, Batman has so many good villains that it seems like, oh, there's no way you could add to that cast of villains already. And Scott Snyder somehow did it. It blew my mind when I read it. If you haven't read the New 52, go read the first 11 books of Batman New 52. You will not be disappointed. I reread it just because it's that good, and I probably reread it once a year. So we don't spec on DC often, but when we do, we go all in. That's what I got. I don't know. Did we just finish up? Is that it?
That's it, man. And that was some good spec, man. I'm gonna go back and read the New 52 on the Batman just because of what you're saying about it. But they have some cool covers, man. I was looking at the covers; they're really cool.
Oh, all of the covers are gorgeous. You can't help but enjoy it. The art is all the way through all of the issues. Cool. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. That's going to be the end of this episode. Before we jump out, we just want to say once again, thank you for listening. If you're enjoying what you're listening, it would help us out immensely to get more listeners if we start tossing out some reviews. If you guys, again, if you're liking it, go ahead, go back to Apple Podcasts and just do a real quick review if you've got the available free time. If not, or you just don't like doing reviews, totally cool. We appreciate you listening anyway, and we're having a lot of fun talking to the people who are reaching out to us. So again, reach out on Instagram or email and, reach out whenever about whatever. So next week we'll be back with a guest, and more spec, more Grail Tales. So, Jesus, good to talk to you. We'll catch everybody next week.